welcome to you all. Welcome from me to you all who are interested in this possible taking on this course. I've also prepared a bit of a slideshow, and I thought I would take you on a tour of the seminar grounds, which you would come to know, but also of all the different rooms and areas that we teach. Andrew outlined such a rich curriculum. And so then you have to ask, how do we prepare our teachers to be able to teach the various subjects? Let me take you on this tour. So, welcome. You can see the beautiful grounds that Robin had spoken about in the east of Melbourne. And I will just take you on a little bit because it is just showing you the environment. But down here on the right, you can also see that we have a biodynamic garden, which is the agricultural form that Rudolf Steiner developed. We have beautiful settings and gardens in which to meet and foster community. And we have outdoor classrooms, which we developed actually in the COVID times, but which have become very popular ever since. And we use them quite a lot. We have another outdoor classroom, which is under a beautiful little oak tree and serves very well for storytelling and more intimate meetings. And then you could ask, well, who is this course for? And of course, it is a pathway to a Bachelor of Education. So it is, if you have decided on a career as a teacher and you are interested in Waldorf or Steiner education, then this is a very good entry point into the course. If you're already a teacher and you are looking at becoming a deeply educated Steiner teacher, this is a fantastic course, and we have had many students who have done that. If you're looking for a new and meaningful direction in your life, it is a wonderful course for that. And while being a teacher in a Waldorf school is a deeply meaningful career, it also is really an opportunity to change the world. Through education, we can change the world. We've also had other professions who've been interested in our courses. Therapists, and various other people have applied this course in different ways. And I just wanted to put this slide here in case you haven't seen it. It's, of course, information that is on the website. The Advanced Diploma is a 2-year full-time course. We always speak of 8 terms, but actually it's also 4 semesters. And we have 2 versions of our Advanced Diploma. One of them is an on-campus face-to-face course, and that runs 3 days per week over those 8 terms, which always last for about 7 or 8 weeks. And then there's a break, and then another 8 weeks and a break. And it runs from Tuesdays to Thursdays, 9 to 4 p.m. And they're quite full days. The online version of our course also roughly is on 3 mornings per week, but it does vary a little bit from term to term. And it includes 3 8-day intensives. So I'm now going to show you what we bring in this course. And I want to ensure that you know that both versions of the course have the same content. You will have the same skill enrichment, and everything really is the same hours-wise as well. So just in case you're wondering as we go through this slideshow. The first 2 terms of the year, in the first year of the course, we introduce foundation studies. We call it foundation studies. We don't so much yet focus on the curriculum and what is the school content, although, of course, everything we teach is towards education. So we look at who was Rudolf Steiner and what are the areas and main thoughts that he brought. And we discuss that in many varied ways. And of course, we look at what are his main philosophies and psychological thoughts behind that lead to Steiner education and that we now embrace in the schools. So we look at what Andrew was outlining, thinking, feeling, and willing, and how do we develop and harmonize this in the children, but also in ourselves. That is actually in the foundation time, we begin this inner development that he spoke about in many varied ways. Who does the teacher need to be and how does the teacher need to be? That inner development is of the utmost importance. And you know that many people will say that 80% of success in teaching is actually due to who you are and how you bring it rather than to just the content. Not that the content doesn't matter. We look at human development. Rudolf Steiner spoke of human development in 7-year phases, and that each 7-year phase has particular developmental potential and particular challenges that it brings up. And as teachers, we really deeply look at the 7-year phases, and then, of course, we divide that into each year level as well, and really looking closely at what is the child's development. And this human development and 7-year phases understanding also shows us how important education in the younger years, a healing and holistic education in those years helps us develop for the rest of our lives. We study personality types. Rudolf Steiner spoke of the 4 temperaments in particular, and the study of the senses, and Rudolf Steiner found 12 senses, is one of the most fundamental, helpful, supportive tools for development of children. We enter the foundation skills of Goethean observation, which is a phenomenological observation method. And this method underlies Steiner education in so many varied ways. I will keep coming, I'll show to you where it pops up, but it actually is underneath the whole educational system and understanding of human being. You will engage in how do we develop imagination in children? How do we develop imagination in us? What is it to be able to visualize, to build visions? The art of storytelling. And I've written mathematics here that is a little bit, should almost be on its own slide, but we, in this foundation time, introduce mathematics as a refresher. It's a refresher course so that you can remember your school maths that you need, so that when we get to the curriculum and we talk about how will we introduce mathematics to the children and work with it, you don't have to remember now all the functions and ways of doing this. So Greg will take you that in an inventive and creative manner. Communication skills and conflict management lay at the heart of any organization. You will be working with colleagues, you will be working with children, you will be working with parents, you will be working with the community. And communicating in an authentic, warm, meaningful way is something that we will explore together. And we will explore it from a mainstream psychological way, but particularly also from an anthroposophical understanding. So the German poet Goethe, who also was responsible for the Goethean observation I just spoke about, was responsible for something that we call Goethean conversation, and has very thoughtful, mindful, related workings in communication and also conflict management. So a very important topic. And in this time, you will learn many skills, many self-development, inner development aspects, and meaning through the discovery of the various arts, the crafts, and engaging in festivals. As we go through it, you might see some of these arts and think, oh, I don't think this course is for me. You have to be an artist to do this course. I have never met anyone who was not be able to learn these artistic ways, because they are taught in such a step-by-step building up manner that really everyone can come to a beautiful way of working with these materials. And it is, of course, more about the process than at the outcome. We always say that, but nevertheless, everyone actually does come to some beautiful outcomes. And it really is a very simple step-by-step method. Art history, one of Julia's subjects, and is fascinating in its own right. Art history is one of the most important subjects, but we can also study how did humanity change over the different epochs of the world, in the world. So here are some earlier, and then here are some examples of some artistic explorations that then you will also share with the children in school as the time goes on. But here in the foundation course, it is mainly about this understanding of how did humanity develop and an appreciation of the arts. I'm sure Julia would have more to say about that, but you'll be engaging in movement. Rudolf Steiner and the early Waldorf schools developed eurythmy and Botma gymnastics. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Here in the foundation time, you are doing the very foundational beginnings of these movements, and they will get a little bit more intriguing as time goes on. And the art of form drawing, I never know whether to call it an art. Basically, it's movement. It's also movement. It is movement that we do with the children in large, in the air, in the sand, in whole body formations, and that eventually comes to rest on the page. And that movement works deeply with the senses, deeply with many integrations of thinking, feeling, and willing, many therapeutic aspects, and many developmental helpful aspects. It goes right through the classes, but here in this foundation time, we're not actually focusing on the curriculum. We are focusing on what do these forms bring? Is there a difference when I draw a straight line to when I draw a curved line? And we experience and wonder about it and discuss. so that we really have an understanding what this is about. And it becomes a bit more complicated, and more complicated than that too. And we nurture and all enjoy the social life that we built here at the seminar. Just today, we were sitting with the students around the fire over lunchtime. We do that almost every day in winter time. We have morning tea all together, and that is a shared affair with a little roster and so on. We sit together and have discussions. We celebrate the festivals together. We have some events that we organize together in the evenings. And we, nurture this community building wherever we can. And the students often, when they come back years later, which they often do, they often speak about that the community aspect was very important to their time at the seminar. And I think that is also what many children in the school say. It was actually the community that held them so strongly. And then we come to the curriculum part. This is term 3 or semester 2 of the first year. That is when we start to look at, well, how do we introduce the curriculum in class 1? How do we work with the children from classes 1 to 8 will be stretched over the rest of your time at the seminar. So in term 3, we all do class 1 and 2. Every subject you study will work towards that. So very deep knowledge of class 1 and 2. And so it goes. Each term has another class level. Here is another picture of the literacy introduction that Andrew already showed you a little bit through pictorial story introducing the letters. And of course, this is not done willy-nilly. This is done with a plan and a thoughtful plan, taking into account that children, and we do too, by the way, learn much better if there is some sleep in between. And we can actually digest that knowledge, maybe add an activity about that the next day, sleep some more, do another activity. And so this is called the 3-day rhythm. And so we work on a plan that includes thought for when will you introduce the next new thing and when do you actually work on digestion and expression, representation of something. It of course goes on with for the older classes with literature, working through the epoch stories and other stories, but the world epochs are, and there's such fantastic literature, meaningful literature, and literature that really meets the child at the stage of their development. So we look for that. We look for poetry, we practice poetry, creative writing, and who are celebrated authors, and many more aspects. So that is a literacy program. And here, here's the literature through the ages that I already have highlighted a little bit. But you would be studying the Norse myths, for instance, the literature of ancient Persia, the literature of ancient India, the literature of ancient Greece, and many more. Mathematics is introduced in a very solid way so that the children can really see and make meaning of these numbers. So numbers are introduced and in many different ways. So with, obviously there are little counting stones, but there I also see Greg doing many body percussion things and really embodying little chants so that the children learn this deeply inside their bodies. And again, a plan is a necessary thing for sensible teaching. So planning, lesson planning, program planning is a big part of every subject. And mathematics, of course, also includes geometry, a beautiful aspect of Waldorf education. And it becomes quite intriguing. And geography, learning about our place. And the young children learn about geography in their very local place. And then as they become a bit older, they'll learn about their country. And over the next few classes, they will learn about the world, landforms and the world, and really find a feeling for how does the human being relate to the world, and what is their influence on the world, and what is the impact of the environment on us. Science starts, well, it starts before the kindergarten. It starts, little babies already are scientists. They explore everything with their senses. In kindergarten and early childhood settings, we of course offer many varied natural materials so that the children can really explore and learn about the environment. And that each material and each different woods offer different aspects, different dirt functions differently. I can do different things with it. We bake and we eat. And here just a little example. Of course, science goes on right through the classes, through nature studies. And in class 4, for instance, a big important main lesson is the study of the human and the animal. I won't go into how that is, but and in class 5, then the study focuses more on the plants and the human being in relation to those plants. And you can see also that the artistic aspect of science is always in the foreground. It moves on through the higher classes, and Andrew already showed a really nice slide, but of course we go into physics and chemistry, biology, anatomy, geology. In all the different classes ongoingly, but always coming, and here Goethe comes back in, from the Goethean observation upwards. And Goethean observation being, as I said, a phenomenological observation, starts with observing and experiencing, and then eventually coming to a concept. Here's another picture of anatomy in class 8 usually, and you can see the artistic possibilities here. So these are all topics you would be exploring with us, working through with us, wondering about how would I bring that. You do role plays on how to present a particular lesson, many of them, so that you feel really secure and practiced. We, of course, also look at inclusive teaching practices. How can we include all the children, and what can we do with all the... There are so many difficulties in the world and complicated presentations in classrooms. What can we do better? How can we understand the children, and how can we come up with holistic and workable ideas? Us, ourselves as teachers, the school as an organization, how can they support the teachers? And also, how do teachers care for themselves? Because when we need to be so versatile and really think about so many different ways of helping each child, it's taxing. And well, it's hard work. And so how do we look after ourselves? So these are topics we look at in our inclusive teaching practices unit. And we look at mainstream theories and anthroposophical theories and understandings and methods and what other people have done to help themselves. And here are many practical strategies to use in the classroom. Art and movement activities. Eurythmy, movement that expresses speech and movement that expresses tone. Meaningful movement. And also has, well, this has deep educational applications, but there are also some practical educational applications where you can include numerical and literacy aspects into the Eurythmy program, and we'll be also focusing on that with you, in addition to the artistic side. Botma gymnastics, a wonderful exploration of the body in space. Yeah, our students are practicing the maypole for a spring festival. And we also, of course, offer history, very important part of learning who we are now, through looking at what has happened with the people before us. And here we are in Australia, and so therefore we of course look at our local history, and a very big part of that is looking at the history of the First Nations people who were here before the white people came. In Melbourne, it is the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and so in Melbourne it makes sense to look at in depth at what the Wurundjeri people, what their way of living was, what they did, how they looked at the seasons and their stories. Anything that we are allowed to share, we do share. And we, of course, also study the ancient world, from the very ancient world to the medieval times, the Renaissance, the revolutions, to the present times. And that, of course, with history, it's always one of these things, because we are in Australia, we were very influenced by European history, so we also study European history. It formed us deeply. But I know that the history teachers also adapt this depending on who the students are in the room, and that they can research, well, what historic periods would I bring and what would be suitable in my country. Here's an example of how you can bring history to life and meet it artistically. So in the afternoon, maybe you are doing these artistic methods, and how you can support the main lesson and bring it to life through the arts. Pedagogical drama, as Andrew already outlined with that beautiful picture that he had of the children in their play, we look into pedagogical drama and what would you bring and how would you bring plays and drama in the primary school at the different year levels. Is it suitable in class 1 to have a child out there on a stage speaking by themselves, or is something else possible? Can you do things more in little groups with choral speaking, or that the teacher speaks for them and they just act out? And then when is it time to become more individualized and present with your voice? That is a big step. And a very important part, all children in a Waldorf school take part in the drama and the plays. It is not something you audition for. It is a whole class engagement and a fantastic way of building community. We engage in a lot of music, singing, recorder playing, percussion. These little drums here are once a week effort Tom brings to the students, and it's wonderful, but full of life. We learn to play the recorders. It's an instrument where you're using, well, your fingers independently, your breath, your tongue. You have to listen. You have to blow the right amount. Incredible body work. Craft in all its many varied ways. Ongoingly, we create craft all through the 2 years, from soft crafts to hard crafts. Here are some of the baskets they made. And, you know, we also, these baskets, I think, are really special because the reeds for the making of these baskets are harvested on our land from our dam. Tom and the students climb into the dam and harvest them and dry them and then work with them. And this really working with local materials is a beautiful aspect you can particularly bring in the hard crafts. Here's another example. The wheat that they used to make these harvest decorations is sown and grown in the biodynamic garden that I showed you in the first slide. And here they are whittling, learning to use the knife in a safe way so that you could teach it already to children. I think Tom suggests from class 3 onwards, and a very pleasing capability. And again, with local woods, I think they're using potostrum and whatever they can find in the surroundings. Working with copper. Here is the connection again from art and science. You have to heat it up just right to be able to beat it. What does that do to the copper to be able to mold it, and so on. And bookbinding in class 7, there is a big medieval study, so that is a nice time to introduce these medieval looking type books. And it's also a bookbinding technique that was used at that time called Coptic binding, I think is the right term. And they also do some marbling. If you were able to open it, there's marbled paper in there as well. So a beautiful way of engaging in this activity. Painting. Painting is offered right through the 2 years, from a foundational way of exploring color and what happens, how does the color affect us, and what happens when one color meets another color, to finding form in painting. And here's some more examples. And the students, of course, also reflect on what are their experiences with these colors? How would I use it? Why would I use it like this? Why would I bring it like this? And Julia deeply and Greg as well, deeply work with these thoughts and discuss together how this can be brought in a meaningful way. Drawing, from very simple drawings to slightly more complicated, to perspective drawing in class 7, for class 7s. Clay work. This is a developmental series that we do at the same time as we study human development. So it's a nice way of, through the art, to understand a little bit more the theory that we were studying in the main lessons. And here are some examples of some of the clay activities we might engage in. And I know they look a little bit taxing, but you know, these heads here over on the right, almost no one in my present class has ever touched clay much before, and they all were able to make a beautiful head. So it is possible, it is really brought step by step. We also work with soapstone. So taking away rather than modeling brings a whole nother dimension and a very pleasing touch experience. The soapstone is so smooth and soft, and the form emerges. And this is another way of working with copper, embossing copper, and again being able to link it to a main lesson. So here obviously students would have studied Egypt, ancient Egypt, and that would be a beautiful way of going deeper with that. And here is a slide of some of the festivals. On the left is the Harvest Festival, and can you see that it's on this stick are hanging the wheat decorations that the students made, and they are now bringing them as a thanksgiving to the biodynamic garden. And that stands there for quite a few weeks and is our gift to the garden. Here's our Midwinter Festival. And then, of course, being an accredited course, and any course worth its salt has got assessments. And the assessments are manifold. We try to make them, and the students often say they are really meaningful assessments, that they allow them to go deeper, to reflect, to really know that they can now say something meaningful about that particular topic. And that is what we're trying to work on. So there are many different ones. There are portfolios for all the art subjects. There are some diagrams that are not just a pretty picture. They are usually diagrams with explanatory notes. So if you looked at it and didn't know what this was about, you would have some good information. There are written assignments and essays. There are lesson plans and learning programs. And often when you create a lesson plan or a learning program, there'll be a role play where you show how you would also teach that. There are reflective journals and performances, talks. So it's a very varied program. It is a busy program, but it's meaningful. And I included a sample timetable. This is for the on-campus advanced diploma. So you can see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday starts at 9 o'clock in the morning and goes right to 4 o'clock. And you can see the kind of activities that happen during the day. This sample timetable, I think, is also on our website. And here's a sample timetable for our online advanced diploma. It has fewer subjects because we have here all the subjects that we find are good to teach online and sensible to teach online. So they are the theoretical subjects, and they are some of the visual arts that we can bring online. Then, of course, we can't bring everything online. Here are the intensives. There are 3 intensives of 8 days each that the online students come for to the seminar, and they engage in all the movement activities, drama, music, singing, and so on. There is a timetable. Here we are. You're with me. Sculpture. We do some sculpture online, but only once or twice. In the intensive. On the whole, we can do it online. There are 3 practicums all students go on during their 2 years. And these practicums, in the first year of the course, there is a 8-day practicum that happens towards in the last term. And in the second year of the course, there are 2 practicums. One is 12 days and one is 16 days. And that is a real opportunity to be part of a school and to increasingly be allowed to teach little bits, from little bits to bigger bits to bigger bits. And the students usually come back completely inspired and full of stories of what they have learned and what they have tried and how much they love the children. So it's a beautiful time, but you do need to make time for it. You need to plan it in, because it is not to fit 16 days. They have to fit into 4 weeks. That means that for those 4 weeks, you would be at least at school 4 days a week. So if you are working too much, you would have to organize yourself that you have a few extra days off in that time. And as Robin mentioned, our course is 2 years. It is an advanced diploma. It leads to a Bachelor of Education. And we have agreed pathways with some universities. The Victorian Institute of Teaching has approved our course, and we have approval from Charles Darwin University, the Australian Catholic University, and we're in the final finishings of getting the agreement with Swinburne University, who will then credit you for up to 2 years of the course. Some of the universities give you more credits than others, but they're all quite generous. And that will then you would finish with another 2 years of a bachelor, and you would be able to teach in any school anywhere in Australia, not just in a Waldorf school, not just in a Steiner school, but in any school. And that, I think, brings me to the end of my slideshow. I hope that's given you a little bit of an overview of what we cover in this course.
Well, thank you so much, Tanya. Tanya has brought to us what we are trying to give you as teachers. And now we'd like to hear from Ellen and see how she's received what the seminar had to give.
Hi, everyone. I'm just aware that you've all been sitting down listening for a long time, so I'll just give you a little brain break. So you can all hop up. You can turn off your camera if you're self-conscious, but we're just going to shake out our hands and feet just for 1 minute. So have a little brain break. So we'll do 8 shakes on the right hand, 8 on the left, and then both feet as well, 8 each, and then we'll do 4 and 4, and then 2, and then all the way down to 1, so we can count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Other foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. And then done. All right. So my name's Ellen. I studied at the Steiner seminar, and I'm back when I studied, this was pre-COVID times, so we didn't have the online course, and so I'm a very firm advocate for coming and studying in person, but I know that's not possible for everyone, and I can see that at the seminar they've got this really wonderful opportunity to learn what we can do online, and then of course what we need to do in person, you can do in person. My journey to Steiner teaching, I'm one of the lucky ones that I went to a Steiner school growing up, so I loved school. I didn't want to miss a day, and I had a really wonderful class teacher, and she took our class from class 1 all the way through to year 8. So I had that class teacher journey. And when I finished school, I knew I really wanted to enter into teaching, and I didn't want to rule out mainstream teaching. So I did do a year of teacher's aide work in a very prestigious grammar school in Sydney. And yeah, I was there for a whole year, and by the end of the year, I felt like, yes, I do want to go into teaching. I'm still really, really, that's where I want to be. But I did feel like there was something lacking, that sort of deeper, sort of more meaningful, a sense of purpose. I couldn't really feel that in the school that I was helping out in. So that kind of rekindled that interest in Steiner education, because growing up we're not really, Steiner students are not told about anthroposophy. We're not indoctrinated into Steiner education. We just experience it through doing and through just every day what we're learning about, but we don't really know why we do what we do. So I was really interested to go and study why do we do what we do in Steiner schools, and why is it that we educate in this way. So I was living in Sydney at the time with my family, and I really wanted to study down here in Melbourne, where they had a fully accredited course. There were short courses offered in Sydney, but when I saw the Melbourne Rudolf Steiner seminar, the grounds and the beautiful surrounds and the beautiful buildings and rooms that they had, I thought, yes, that's where I really want to be studying anthroposophy and Steiner education. So I moved down to Melbourne, and I've been down here ever since. It was a really wonderful move and a really incredible 2-year course. So very much so in the first year, it was a lot of personal development and inner growth, and looking at Steiner education and looking at anthroposophy and some of these really, really very big ideas that Steiner had about the world, about the human being, about the soul and the sort of spirit. And so we worked with these ideas and kind of had to, really a lot of self-reflection in that first year, that then led into the more practical, all right, so this is how we would then look at the stages of development from a very young child all the way through to an adult, and all the whole lifespan in these 7-year cycles that Tanya mentioned. So yes, thank you so much to Tanya and Andrew for your presentation so far. It's really, really wonderful. It was inspiring for me. I hope it was for you too. I'm sure it was. It's really lovely to, as someone who is a Steiner teacher now, you get very caught up in the everyday nitty-gritty of the classroom and of the community and the parents and what's happening. It's really nice to take a step back and have that reminder of this deeper purpose and this meaningful work that we're doing. It's really a pleasure to see that. So yes, we look into the phases of development, and this understanding of child development really helps inform the curriculum that we bring at each stage of the child's life. So it really informs what we do in class 1 and class 2 and on through the school. Yes. I found it was really wonderful the way that we did practicums. So I got to apply what I was learning at the seminar in practicums, and when I went through, we could choose to do practicums locally in Melbourne, but we could also do them interstate, and I chose to do some in New South Wales. I even had the opportunity to do one placement overseas. So I chose a Waldorf school in Hyderabad in India, and I was there for a month teaching in the lower primary. And that was such an incredible experience to go overseas and go into a Steiner school and feel like there was something that very familiar about that place. Even in a foreign country, there was something that unified that school with this deeper impulse. So I could really sense that. And since then, having visited several Steiner schools now around the world, there's something that connects them all, and each school is different and doing running their school in their own way, but there's something there's something there that really connects them all, that impulse and that purpose, that I think that's striving. It's, as a class teacher, it's a challenging role, but it's as Andrew said, it's very meaningful, and it feels very purposeful. Looking at the time, I might allow for there to be questions. I imagine there'd be questions for Tanya and for Andrew, and I'm happy to answer any as well if you have any for me. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much, Ellen. It was great. And yes, this is a good time to pop your questions into the chat. And while you do that, I just want to tell you a little bit about the enrollment process. If this is stirring something in you and you have decided, yes, this is what I want to do, then this information will be for you. So as you probably know now, the course begins in February. So we appreciate it if you can get your applications in as soon as you make a decision. So for international students who will be moving to Australia and studying on campus, you will want to apply by the end of September, so that we have enough time to go through your application, and so that the government has enough time to process your visa. Visa applications slow down quite a bit over December during the Christmas holidays. So like I said, we recommend you get your visas in, or your applications in by the end of September, and that will give us and the government enough time to get you ready. For domestic students, by the end of November is really nice. Again, December, we tend to take holidays and everything, and the application process can take 2 weeks or so, or longer if not all your documents are together. But by the end of November would be really good. So to enroll, you just need to go to our website and fill out the application. And in fact, I'm going to send you a little chat with all our contact details. There we go. Are people getting that? Yeah, anyway. And so before you fill in the application online, just check on the webpage all the documents that you need to prepare. Make sure you have those prepared, and upload those at the time that you apply. Advanced diploma students are eligible to receive Austudy and VET student loans. There is a page on the website about VET student loans, And the government has its pages also on vet student loans and Oz Study. So we have given you a lot to think about this evening. And I was just, I'm looking at the questions. Nulufa, could this course help a kindergarten teacher? And I might pass that over to Tanya, if you would.
Well, we have had many kindergarten and early childhood teachers do the course, or people who are aspiring to become early childhood teachers. It is actually a primary course, but all those topics that I was speaking about in the foundation course, and the arts, and particularly the anthroposophical underlying knowledge, there is a unit on early childhood. So all of those subjects are very useful and foundational for early childhood teachers. We also have Charles Darwin University gives us the full credits for an early childhood application as well, so which is wonderful. And so it is a possibility, but of course many topics then in the curriculum years, we really do look at geography in classes 1 to 8 and science classes 1 to 8 and mathematics classes 1 to 8. But many of our students who also are mainly interested in early childhood actually find the content of what we study of that curriculum so fascinating that they don't mind doing that and enriching themselves as human beings. And so they take that into their early childhood studies when they then go on to university.
Right, and I'll add to that if I may, because a question came in from Lola. She's completed the early childhood course here, the part-time early childhood course. And is the advanced diploma the next step in becoming a kinder teacher? Well, in Australia, in all states, to become a kinder teacher, you have to be an accredited teacher in that state. And for that, you will need a Bachelor of Education. And those Bachelors of Education can have a specialty. They can be in primary, they can be in early childhood, they can be in secondary, or some universities have hybrid. So you would have to find that out from your university. But yes, the advanced diploma can become a stepping stone, that the first 2 years in your Bachelor of Education for early childhood. It would be maybe it would be a good idea to call me and we can talk about how that looks, what universities you're interested in, and I can point you how to find out from the university what they will accept from us. There's, let's see, any more early childhood? No, but I'll go, there's a couple about the online course. So one, are there places to stay for the 8-day intensives? We do give people a sheet on how to find accommodation. So there are commercial places to stay. Sometimes there's billeting, and some students can stay on campus in sort of like a camping environment. We do not have dormitories or anything like that, but you may camp either in tents outside or you may stay in a classroom. But again, give me a ring if you like, and we can go over that more. And I've got a sheet on accommodation for people. In regards to the online course, what days and times are required? I will pop, Tanya went over that in her slide, and it varies from term to term, but it's generally Monday to Wednesday or sometimes Thursday. Generally, the hours are around lunchtime, before lunch, and maybe a little bit after lunch. And yes, the lessons are recorded if you can't make it. We do urge students to participate, because there is quite a large and I don't necessarily want to use the word intimate, but a community building element even to the online course. So it's very worth attending. Of course, some people can't attend some things. We have people who are teachers' aides. So from time to time, their schedules will not allow them to attend all the classes, but they can attend some.
Can I just interject there also with the attendance? So if a person is mainly accessing the recordings, we tutors also ask the students to then engage via the Teams function of chatting with each other, so that we still have communication happening. And what we really don't want is a completely distant, non-community building environment. We want to be in conversation.
Yeah. So let's see, just going on. Okay, is there definitely an online course offered next year? There definitely will be an online course next year if there are enough students who are interested in it. Typically, we won't know until certainly after this after this information evening is when the applications start coming in. So gradually building between now and Christmas, we start to get an idea of who is interested in the course. So we had a beautiful cohort in this year. It was our first year for it, and so we hope again for that, but I can't tell you that now. The online course option is available to international students. If you're an international student and you do not need a visa. Okay, this is sort of a tricky one, and I might ask you to email me and answer the question. Because you're not living in this country, you do not have to have a visa, but you will need a visa to come for the intensives. And that will not be a student visa. You won't need a student visa for that. So we can go over that. So living in Melbourne is not a requirement to do the online course. However, coming to the intensives is. So that's the answer to that. But if you want to go into depth about that, please send me an email. Let us know your circumstances, and we can talk to you about that. So let's see. Okay, I think I've answered the questions. Are there any more questions for now? And even if we don't answer them tonight, we are available for the rest of the year to answer anything that you have, anything that can help you to make a decision on what is the right course for your life and for your career. We are here to answer that for you.
One last question.
One last question. Okay.
Do online students provide their own artistic supplies?
Yes. Do online students provide their own artistic supplies? Yes, we do not mail those out. And we give you a supplies list, and we give you a book list, and we give you lists of suppliers that we know and trust. But of course, you're welcome, depending on where you live and what you have access to, what supplies you get within certain parameters. But we do give you lots of information on that. All right, we've kept you for a good hour and a half. I think we'll stop now. We so appreciate your attentiveness. We appreciate your questions, and thank you very much. again, we're here if you need us for anything, and we do hope to hear from you. So thank you very much, and good night.
Good night.